At 2:43 on the 24th of May 2025, three purpose-built Ukrainian strike drones cut a silent arc over occupied Zaporizhia Oblast, closing on a vital logistics thread, the Vern-Takmak-Malachansk rail corridor. Parked on its tracks was an 8-car fuel convoy, roughly 560 tons of diesel, enough to sustain 2 Russian battalions for days, moving like a lifeline for the occupation. Unseen from the ground, a second layer of eyes rode high. A modified DJI Mavic 3, perched 8 kilometers out, feeding thermal and optical data back to operators hidden in a distant bunker. What looked like a routine night mission was anything but. 5 unmanned systems, synchronized to the second, poised to turn rail steel into an inferno within a minute. The attackers had patience, precision, and a plan, and the enemy had no clue whatsoever. Under the black sky of occupied Zaporizhia, 5 machines moved with purpose, silent, invisible, and deadly. What appeared to be a handful of small drones was, in truth, a finely tuned strike package built for one specific goal: the destruction of a single fuel train. This was not chaos. It was choreography, the result of years of battlefield evolution and relentless innovation. 3 Ukrainian-built FPV quadcopters waited for launch, their batteries humming with quiet potential. 2 DJI Mavic 3 reconnaissance drones circled at a safe distance, one actively scanning, the other held in reserve in case Russian defenses detected and disabled the first. These weren't store-bought toys or hobby gadgets. They were customized tools of precision warfare, rebuilt in field workshops by Ukrainian engineers who had learned to turn commercial technology into guided weapons. The Mavic 3 reconnaissance platform, though originally designed for cinematographers, had become one of Ukraine's most adaptable battlefield eyes. The stock Hasselblad L2D20C camera, a 20-megapixel optical system, had been enhanced beyond its intended limits. Its 28x hybrid zoom was stretched through experimental firmware to an astounding 56x digital magnification, allowing operators to read serial numbers on Russian armor from kilometers away. Some units had been retrofitted with FLIR boson thermal cores, granting them the ability to detect even minor heat differentials as small as 0.05 degrees Celsius, and distinguish between a running engine and a cold railcar in the middle of the night. These reconnaissance drones cruise steadily at 68 kilometers per hour, capable of remaining airborne for nearly 46 minutes, and climbing to 6,000 meters above sea level. They were not designed to fight, but to see, and in modern warfare, vision was power. Below them, the real weapons waited: the FPV attack quadcopters, lean, fast, and lethal. Each attack drone used 7-inch propellers mounted on 2,807 class brushless motors, with every motor capable of producing 2.5 kilograms of thrust. Their F7 flight controllers ran a customized version of Betaflight firmware, rewritten by Ukrainian coders to allow for hyper-precise adjustments and smooth control at high speed. The result: drones that could remain rock-steady, even in terminal dives exceeding 140 kilometers per hour, maintaining camera lock and flight stability right up to impact. These weren't reusable assets. Each was a one-way platform, designed to carry a single-shaped charge, make contact, and cease to exist: a self-guided missile built on a frame that cost less than a commercial lawnmower. Yet, in the right hands, they had become some of the most cost-effective and deadly strike weapons in the war. 30 kilometers away, inside a fortified Ukrainian command center, a team of operators sat in near darkness, eyes fixed on glowing monitors. The air was tense, but calm. No shouts, no chaos, only measured breathing and the soft hum of computers. The lead reconnaissance operator guided his Mavic 3 along a pre-programmed path. The thermal camera panned slowly over a stretch of railway, revealing a bright orange silhouette cutting across the landscape: a moving train. The heat signature of the locomotive's diesel engine burned like a flare on the cold infrared display, the cars behind it faintly visible in shades of dull gray. On another screen, an encrypted communications window pulsed steadily. The operator spoke softly into his mic, confirming visual contact on the fuel convoy. The signal passed through secure uplinks, reaching the 3 FPV strike pilots waiting for targeting data. Unlike their reconnaissance counterparts, these pilots weren't watching from far away. They would fly through their drone's eyes. Their goggles streamed live video from onboard cameras, providing the sensation of sitting inside the machine itself. Every tilt, every vibration, every flicker of deck lights on the target, all of it came through in real time. The DJI Mavic 3's modified firmware allowed it to transmit untraceable feeds, avoiding Russian aeroscope detection systems, which typically picked up unencrypted DJI signals. This made the drone effectively invisible to most Russian tracking networks, giving the operators a vital advantage. With the reconnaissance data confirmed, the bunker team prepared for the attack phase. The train was not just a military target, it was a logistical artery, carrying 560 tons of diesel that would feed Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and generators across the front. Cutting it meant strangling 2 battalions in one stroke. Each FPV drone was fitted with a 2.6 kilogram shaped charge warhead, a product of battlefield engineering. These warheads were small, but their design was rooted in the science of precision destruction. Built with dual-stage detonation systems, they used tungsten alloy liners to create a focused jet of explosive energy that could punch through 22 millimeters of hardened steel. Upon impact, the first charge breached the surface. The second ignited the vaporized fuel within. When the shaped charge fired, its jet traveled at more than 30,000 feet per second, generating enough kinetic energy to pierce armor and ignite diesel at over 2,500 degrees Celsius. Against the 10-15 millimeters walls of a Russian fuel tanker, it was catastrophic overkill, not merely punching a hole, but transforming the entire car into a firebomb. But the strike wasn't just about power, it was about timing. For 72 hours, Ukrainian intelligence had tracked the train's journey. A web of partisan spotters, ordinary civilians living under Russian occupation, had followed its progress using nothing more than smartphones and courage. They logged its refueling points, speed, and stops. Through encrypted text relays, they passed this data to Kyiv, where analysts mapped out a narrow 15-minute window, the one stretch of track farthest from any Russian air defense umbrella. It was in that gap that the strike would come. When the order finally arrived, the first FPV operator leaned forward and armed his drone. Its propellers spun up with a faint whine that grew into a sharp buzz as it lifted off the ground. The drone accelerated into the night, following a preloaded GPS route that would bring it into visual range of the train within minutes. As the drone closed the distance, its onboard systems merged satellite navigation with optical recognition. GPS guided it through most of the flight, but as it neared its target, the algorithm shifted gears, switching to image-based tracking. Using machine learning models trained on thousands of images of Russian rail equipment, the drone could identify and lock onto specific visual markers like the curve of a tank car or the reflection of light off metal rails. This dual navigation method gave Ukrainian operators precision unheard of in earlier drone warfare. For the first part of the mission, they flew by satellite data. In the last 15 seconds, they flew by sight machine sight. Through the pilot's FPV goggles, the train appeared as a streak of motion below, the white-hot locomotive glowing against the dark. The operator made minor adjustments, compensating for crosswinds. The drone's fixed-mount camera with digital stabilization kept the image steady as it dove from altitude, closing in on a target that was moving 11 meters every second. To hit something that fast required more than reflex, it required predictive calculation. Every second, the drone's computer recalculated trajectory, speed, and wind resistance, ensuring it would intersect the train's path exactly at the chosen point of impact. Inside the command center, the other operators watched quietly. The data link streamed telemetry altitude, speed, signal strength. The operator's breathing grew shallower. And then, something changed. 3 kilometers away, a Russian LER-3 electronic warfare truck powered up. The system's antennas swiveled toward the sky, locking onto the telltale signature of the incoming drones. Within seconds, the air filled with electromagnetic noise. The LER-3, mounted on a Kamaz chassis, was built to jam GPS and drone control frequencies over a 30-kilometer radius. It began flooding the spectrum with static, sending high-power interference across multiple bands to sever control links. Inside the bunker, the operator's console flickered. Connectivity warnings flashed red. The Russian crew switched tactics rapidly from broadband jamming, which blanketed multiple frequencies, to spot jamming, a more surgical strike that focused all power on the 2.4 GHz band, commonly used by drone systems. Their objective: blind the operator and force the drone into failsafe mode, either crashing it or compelling it to return home. But Ukraine's engineers had anticipated this. The attack drones used frequency-hopping spread spectrum, FHSS, technology, constantly changing frequencies hundreds of times per second across multiple bands. This rapid switching made it nearly impossible for the LER-3's jammers to lock onto a single channel. Even as interference roared through the sky, the drones danced between frequencies faster than the Russians could track. The DJI Mavic 3 providing Overwatch adapted just as fluidly. Its AI-driven software automatically detected interference patterns and shifted to cleaner frequency ranges. The reconnaissance feed never dropped. The thermal silhouette of the train remained visible, steady, and bright. Inside the bunker, the operator toggled to the secondary L-band backup channel, spreading his signal across 3 separate frequencies at once. The drone's onboard systems adjusted in milliseconds, ensuring constant communication, even in the densest jamming fields. Meanwhile, Russian operators grew frustrated. Their jamming strength fluctuated wildly, unable to overpower the Ukrainian system. And so, the duel shifted from brute force interference to technological finesse. While the LER-3 blasted noise, Ukrainian drones relied on inertial navigation, guided not by satellites but by internal sensors, accelerometers and gyroscopes measuring every microsecond of movement. These inertial measurement units, IMUs, couldn't be jammed or spoofed. Even when GPS signals vanished completely, the drones felt their position, tracking momentum and angle through pure physics. At that point, human control was almost unnecessary. The drones, pre-programmed and self-correcting, flew as if alive. The operator's console dimmed, flickered, then stabilized. His drone was still online. Its guidance system had switched to full autonomous mode, locking onto the glowing shape of the train ahead. Against the chaos of Russian jamming, 5 small machines built from consumer parts, coded in hidden workshops, had outsmarted $1 million electronic shield. In that moment, a simple truth became clear. On the modern battlefield, innovation wasn't measured in rubles or tonnage, it was measured in ideas. As Russian jammers screamed across the airwaves, trying to drown every signal, the Ukrainian operators didn't flinch. What happened next was a masterclass in modern electronic warfare, not through brute force, but through adaptability. The Russians had thrown everything they had at the problem. The LER-3 electronic warfare system was broadcasting high-powered interference across multiple frequency bands, saturating the sky with electromagnetic noise. To any conventional drone, this would have been a death sentence: commands lost, navigation scrambled, control severed. But the Ukrainians had planned for this. Their drones were not just machines. They were thinking systems built for survival in the world's harshest digital battlefield. The FPV strike drones employed frequency-hopping spread spectrum, FHSS, an advanced communication method that switched between hundreds of frequencies per second, randomly cycling through each band so fast that Russian jammers simply couldn't keep up. Every time the LER-3 locked onto a frequency, the Ukrainian drones had already moved on. Like ghosts slipping through a radar net, the airwaves became a battleground of precision. Russian operators blasted static in frustration, while Ukrainian drones skipped frequencies with mathematical grace, invisible, untouchable. Then, the next layer of defense kicked in. The AI-enhanced sensors aboard the reconnaissance and attack drones weren't blind to disruption. They adapted. As static overwhelmed parts of the spectrum, the onboard software analyzed interference patterns and dynamically rerouted communications to cleaner frequencies. The system's ability to learn mid-battle gave it a decisive edge, a kind of digital instinct that let it anticipate Russian countermeasures before they fully deployed. Inside the command bunker, the operator's screens flickered but never went dark. Primary frequency compromised, one voice reported. Switching to secondary channel L-band active, came the calm reply. The signal shifted instantly, maintaining the data stream across multiple redundant pathways. To the Russians, it must have looked like the drones had vanished from the sky when in reality, they were right above their target, unbroken, unstoppable. But the Ukrainians weren't just relying on communication. Each FPV drone carried a layered guidance system, a combination of GPS, optical vision, and inertial navigation that made it effectively immune to spoofing. As the Russians began GPS spoofing, feeding the sky with false satellite signals meant to trick the drones into veering off course, the Ukrainian system switched automatically to their inertial measurement units, IMUs. Inside every drone, accelerometers and gyroscopes worked in tandem, measuring the tiniest changes in velocity and direction, building a real-time map of movement that no jammer could distort. It was pure physics, immune to noise, untouchable by deception. The drone's computer now flew blind to the outside world but could still feel every motion, tracking its own speed, tilt, and acceleration. The algorithm adjusted constantly, aligning its internal navigation with preloaded terrain data and mission parameters. It didn't need a signal anymore. It knew exactly where it was and where it was going. And where it was going was a moving Russian fuel train, still unaware that death was seconds away. As the drones transitioned to optical recognition, Their cameras locked onto the distinct geometry of the tank car's cylindrical shapes, glinting under faint moonlight. Image recognition algorithms matched what they saw to reference patterns stored in memory, ensuring absolute precision, even as the train rocked on uneven tracks. Each FPV craft adjusted microsecond by microsecond, compensating for vibration, wind, and angle of attack. The Russian jammers had done their job perfectly, but it didn't matter anymore. At 2 hours 44 minutes and 30 seconds, one of the drones made contact. The shaped charge warhead struck the third tanker car dead center, and in an instant, the night exploded. The 2.6 kilogram tungsten charge punched through the steel wall like a molten spear, igniting the pressurized diesel inside. A blinding flash tore through the train, followed by a shockwave that rolled across the dark fields. The explosion reached temperatures above 2,500 degrees Celsius, turning hundreds of gallons of fuel into a storm of fire. From the Ukrainian command bunker, the operators watched through their thermal feeds as the heat bloom expanded first. One car, then two, then three. The attack drone's video feed went white, then static. But the mission was far from over. Within 15 seconds, the inferno had leapt to neighboring cars. The ventilation systems designed to equalize pressure between tankers had become perfect conduits for death, carrying superheated vapor and flames through the convoy. The engineer slammed the emergency brakes, halting the train, and in doing so, sealed its fate. Now motionless, it was a perfect target. The second and third Ukrainian strike drones, already airborne and guided by the Mavic's thermal vision, descended toward the growing firestorm. The operators coordinated silently, each selecting a new target based on AI-prioritized heat signatures. Despite the smoke and chaos, the drone's sensors cut through the haze, tracking the cooler silhouettes of unburned tank cars still intact. At 2:45, the second FPV drone dove toward the sixth tanker, weaving through thick smoke before striking just above the fuel line. Another white-hot jet of metal tore through the car's side, igniting 69 more tons of diesel fuel. The fire merged with the earlier explosion, expanding into a continuous wave of flame that consumed 4 cars in seconds. The third operator, watching from his goggles, guided his drone to the rear of the train. His target, the last untouched tanker, glowed faintly in infrared view. He descended fast, accelerating through the heat distortion, the onboard stabilizers fighting turbulence from the rising column of hot air. Then impact. A third explosion, deeper and heavier than the rest, sent a shockwave rippling across the countryside. Now, the entire 8-car train was burning 560 tons of fuel turned into a rolling apocalypse. The flames were so intense they created their own microclimate, drawing in air at the base and generating powerful convection currents. A column of black smoke and orange fire climbed over 200 meters into the night sky, visible for miles across the occupied territory. The heat warped the railway tracks into twisted ribbons of metal. Wooden ties burst into flame. Shrapnel from the tanker cars scattered across the ground, embedding in soil and machinery. The once smooth corridor that fed Russia's war machine had become a scar of molten steel and ash. The Mavic's camera, still circling high above, captured it all in perfect clarity. Through its lens, the scene resembled a scene from another era, an industrial inferno consuming everything in sight. By dawn, what remained of the Vern-Tokmak-Malachansk railway was unrecognizable. The line was now completely inoperable. Repair crews would need weeks, maybe months, to restore it if they could work at all under the constant threat of renewed drone strikes. For the Russians, this wasn't just a tactical loss. It was a message. Their logistical arteries were vulnerable everywhere, even deep behind the front lines. For the Ukrainians, it was a masterpiece of efficiency, a strike that combined intelligence, engineering, and audacity into one seamless operation. And the world would see it too. Every frame from launch to explosion was captured in crisp 4 Kelvin's video, a digital testament to the precision of modern asymmetric warfare. As the final plume of smoke drifted into the night sky, the feed cut out. A Ukrainian operator leaned back, exhaled, and said quietly, "Target neutralized." Then, after a pause, he added the words that summed up the entire mission, "All that for the cost of a used car?"